This is Guns and Butter.
There's something happening, yeah. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there.
Essentially, most of the problems come from the Clinton administration and his repeal of Glass-Steagall in 1999. What happened is that these commercial banks that in the past provided these basic services, checking accounts and normal credit cards, have all become financial parasites by merging with predatory real estate lenders, predatory investment bankers, and they've become something entirely different from what they were 10 years ago. So the problem is that over and above, wrapped around to these basic essentials that banks provide, they've all of a sudden taken on their basic identity from more and more parasitic, purely extractive activities that don't add anything to the means of production or to the real economy, but merely siphon off, rake off charges and fees for everything they provide.
I'm Bonnie Faulkner. Today on Guns and Butter, Dr. Michael Hudson. Today's show, Obama's Republican class war presidency. Michael Hudson is a financial economist and historian. He is president of the Institute for the Study of Long-Term Economic Trend, a Wall Street financial analyst, and distinguished research professor of economics at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. His 1972 book, Super Imperialism, The Economic Strategy of American Empire, is a critique of how the United States exploited foreign economies through the IMF and World Bank. He is also author of The Myth of Aid and Global Fracture, The New International Economic Order. Dr. Hudson has written many articles on the current global financial crisis. A few of his most recent articles that we discuss today are Wall Street's Power Grab, The Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission Hearings, Mr. Obama's Junk Economics, Democrats Relinquish the Populist Option to the Republicans, and the Bernanke Reappointment. Be afraid, be very afraid. Dr. Michael Hudson, welcome.
Thank you very much, Bonnie.
What was your assessment of Obama's State of the Union speech?
Well, it's what he didn't say that's important. He stopped proposing the Consumer Financial Products Agency that originally had been the centerpiece of his financial reform. So he intends not to reform Wall Street in the lines that Elizabeth Warren had proposed and that he promised to do after the $13 trillion bank bailout. Also, he was too shy to mention that he'd fought tooth and nail over the weekend to get Mr. Bernanke reappointed at the Federal Reserve so that he could continue to impose his anti-labor parties on the rest of the country. So essentially what Mr. Obama did was relinquish any thoughts of playing the populist card to the Republicans. Now, that's pretty ironic. Nobody a year ago would have dreamed that the Bush administration, which people voted out of power overwhelmingly, would now be looked at as the friend of the people. More friendly, more populist, more consumer-friendly than the Obama administration. But Mr. Obama, by fighting to reappoint the right-winger, Mr. Bernanke, who has stated that his policy is to increase credit, which means increasing debt, raising home prices again, raising financial prices, untaxing real estate and finance, and shifting the tax burden onto consumers. This is a policy that George Bush never could have got away with. Imagine a year ago if somebody would have come out with Mr. Obama's policies, and the Democrats were in office, and Mr. Obama were a Republican, which basically he is. The Democrats would be protesting, but they're in a confusion now. They think, well, we have a Democratic president. We can't really oppose him. So this lets the Republicans pose as populists in sheep's clothing and make all of the argument saying we're on the side of the people. Look at the Tea Partiers. It's politics turned inside out.
Are you then saying that Obama is getting away with stuff that even George Bush couldn't get away with?
That seems to be his role. At the point where the public had run out of patience with George Bush acting on behalf of Wall Street and the financial sector with the Paulson and Bernanke $13 trillion bailout, they needed a friendly face to do it. And the only way that you can continue to give more money to Wall Street and to the financial sector generally is to say that you're for the people, to do it with a friendly face, to smile, to be very adept and easygoing. That's the only way that you can continue to pursue an anti-populist, pro-financial policy.
Now, you just mentioned the $13 trillion. We all know that $700 billion constituted the TARP, that is the Troubled Asset Relief Program, of which some at least is being repaid to the government. But where does the $13 trillion come in?
This focus on the TARP is simply saying, look at this little amount, don't look at the big amount. For instance, the Federal Reserve has given $2 trillion worth of cash for trash swaps. The government has bailed out AIG for $185 billion. It's taken over the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac for $5.3 trillion. Nomi prints almost every month now updates the charts that she put in It Takes a Trillage online, and she gives a running total of all of the 13 trillion that actually began as much more. The Wall Street Journal last week came out with a $21 trillion giveaway, so that what the Obama administration has done really is triple the public debt. And that's why Mr. Obama said, okay, we've given so much money to Wall Street with this giveaway that we have to stop spending on the real economy. So he promises that next year there will be a 3-year freeze on government spending, on social services, on countercyclical spending, and on the kind of deficit spending that Keynesian economists said is necessary to pull employment out of recession. So essentially his message could be summarized: Obama to the economy, drop dead. He's supporting his constituency, his major contributors in the financial, insurance, and real estate sector against the real economy. And he's stopping it. And this is something that no Republican could have got away with without being thrown out of office.
Now, you said it takes a trillage. Now, I know she wrote a book called It Takes a Pillage. Is the pillage?
Oh, pillage, that's it. She kept changing the title. I'm sorry. Originally it was Trillage, and she changed it to Pillage. I was remembering her original title.
Oh, I thought maybe that the pillage had segued into a trillage.
No, so obviously she sat down with her publishers, and somebody decided that a pillage is better than Trillage.
I see.
So I have to go with her decision there.
You say that the fix was in with the Democrats regarding the reappointment of Bernanke to another term of the Fed chief before Obama even gave his speech. How did you know that?
Well, he'd worked all weekend long, according to the newspaper, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, all said that he'd been calling senators, the Democratic senators, to say that he thought the Republicans might strike a populist pose in opposing Mr. Bernanke because he's so pro-Wall Street and deregulatory. So the problem was that a lot of the Democratic senators believed what Mr. Obama said, and they believed that he wanted actually to set up Elizabeth Warren's Consumer Financial Products Agency. Well, Mr. Bernanke had said that the centerpiece of his ideology was to oppose the Consumer Financial Products Agency. His argument is the old neoclassical junk economics argument that if you have truth in lending or other government regulations or anti-usury laws, this will increase the cost to Wall Street, and they'll just pass the cost on to consumers. This shows an absolute ignorance of the concept of economic rent. The whole concept of classical economics, what every first-year student learns, Mr. Bernanke pretends not to know. And he's just deliberately either lying or he'd flunk a beginning economics course. And nobody in the Congress stood up to him and said, what you're giving is junk economics. How dare you say that protecting consumers and truth in lending is going to make consumers pay more? Mr. Bernanke says anti-usury laws will make consumers pay higher interest rates. This is crazy. This is deregulatory sort of